my house. I don't want you here again.
Please, I paid my rent. I won't go.
Pack your things or I will deal with you.
Mama Amaka's voice cut through the evening air like a whip. Bring that padlock, she shouted. Today everybody will learn that I don't joke with my house. Amara stood in the middle of the compound with a small nylon bag in her hand. Her chest rose and fell fast, not because she was running, but because she was trying very hard not to cry. Around her, other tenants had gathered. Some peeped from their windows, some stood behind water drums, some held their children close. Nobody wanted to be seen supporting Amara too loudly. Not in Mama Imaka's compound. Because in this compound, Mama Imaka was law. Mama Imaka grabbed the rusty padlock from one of her boys and marched straight to Amara's door. The door was old and brown, with peeling paint, and it creaked every time the wind blew. But it was Amara's door. It was the one place she had hoped would be safe. Mama Imaka slammed her palm on it. "Open!" she commanded. Amara's keys shook in her hand. "Mama, please, I'm not owing. I paid last week. I have the receipt." "Receipt?" Mama Imaka laughed, loud and bitter. "You want to teach me how to run my compound? You? Small girl way no get anybody?" Some people laughed nervously, the way people laugh when they are afraid and do not know what else to do. Amara swallowed hard. She pulled out a folded paper from her bag. It was a rent receipt, slightly wrinkled from being opened many times. "I paid. See it," she said softly. Mama Imaka didn't even look. Instead, she raised her voice even more. "This one thinks she's smart. This one thinks she can come here and play game with me." Then she turned to everyone like she was a queen speaking to her crowd. "People of this compound, listen. Since she came, she has been forming gentle, acting like a saint. But I know her type. They will enter quietly, then they will start bringing trouble." Amara's throat tightened. She looked at the faces around her. A woman with a baby on her back avoided her eyes. A young man quickly stepped back, pretending to check his phone. Even the old man who sold recharge cards at the gate stared at the ground like it suddenly became interesting. Mama Imaka took the padlock and pushed it through the latch. Clang! The sound felt like a slap. Amara's eyes widened. "Mama Imaka, please. My things are inside. My food. My documents." "My documents?" Mama Imaka cut in. "Go and bring your documents from your village." A few people chuckled again, but their laughter was weak. It sounded like fear trying to pretend it was joy. Amara's hands trembled. She stepped closer to the door, not touching it, just standing like someone begging a wall to hear her. "Please," she said again. "Let me enter and take my things. If you think I'm owing, we can settle it tomorrow. I can show you my bank alert. I can—" Mama Imaka swung around so fast her wrapper flared. "Tomorrow?" she shouted. "So you want to sleep in my house for free tonight? Over my dead body?" Then she lifted her finger and pointed directly at Amara's face. "If you don't leave this compound before I count 3, I will call my people. I will drag you out like a thief." Amara's lips parted, but no words came out. In that moment, a small child, maybe 5, ran out from one room and hugged Amara's legs tightly. "Auntie Amara," the child whispered. The child's mother rushed out, panicking. "Chioma, come inside." But Chioma held on, crying. "Auntie Amara is nice. She gives me biscuit." Mama Imaka's eyes flashed. "So now you are using my tenants to do campaign?" She snapped at Amara. Amara bent slowly, pulled Chioma gently off her legs, and wiped the child's tears with her thumb. "It's okay," she whispered to the child. "Go inside." Her voice was calm, but her eyes were not calm. They were wet. Mama Imaka took a step forward, raising her hand like she wanted to slap Amara. But Amara didn't flinch. She only stood still. That was what shocked people. Because in this compound, everybody flinched. Mama Imaka paused for half a second, surprised. Then she smiled, a cruel smile. "Oh, so you want to do strong woman," she said slowly. "No problem." She turned and shouted toward the gate. "Ifanye! Call the boys. Tell them to bring the wheelbarrow." Amara's heart jumped. "Wheelbarrow?" Mama Imaka faced her again. "If you don't leave now, I will pack your things outside like refuse. Then we will see where you will keep your pride." Amara's stomach turned. She imagined her clothes, her small kitchen pot, her Bible, her bag of rice thrown in the dirt for everyone to see. The humiliation hit her like hot water. Still, she did not shout. She only asked softly, "Why are you doing this to me?" Mama Amaka leaned in close. "Because I can." That sentence dropped like a stone into the compound. Even the air felt heavier. Then, a loud horn blasted outside the gate. Peem, peem. Everyone turned. Another horn followed, deeper and longer. Pay. A black SUV rolled into view, its headlights bright, its body shining even in the dusty streetlight. Then a second SUV followed. Then a third. People gasped. In this neighborhood, 3 black SUVs together meant one thing. Someone important had arrived. Mama Amaka's eyes narrowed. The gate swung open wider, and the SUVs entered slowly, like they owned the road. The first car stopped. Its windows were tinted dark. Nobody could see inside. The compound was suddenly quiet. Even Mama Amaka's mouth stayed half open. Then the back door of the first SUV opened. A man stepped out. He was tall. He wore a simple shirt and trousers, but his shoes were clean and expensive. His face was calm, but his eyes were sharp. Behind him came 2 other men, and a woman holding a file. The tall man looked around the compound like he was measuring it. Then his eyes landed on Mama Amaka, and then on Amara. His gaze stopped, like he recognized her. Amara's breath caught. Her fingers tightened around her nylon bag. Mama Amaka straightened up, trying to recover her pride. "Who are you people?" she barked. "This is private property." The tall man didn't answer immediately. He walked closer, slow and steady, until he was standing just a few steps away from Amara's padlocked door. He looked at the padlock, then at Amara's face. Then he spoke, his voice low but firm. "Amara." Just her name. The way he said it made people's ears prick. Mama Amaka frowned. "Do you know her?" The man ignored Mama Amaka again. He asked Amara, "Are you the one they locked out?" Amara swallowed. Her voice came out small. "Yes, sir." The man's jaw tightened. He turned to the woman holding the file. "Take note." The woman nodded and wrote quickly. Mama Amaka's confidence started to shake, but she tried to hide it. She forced a laugh. "See, oh," she said. "So she has called her people. Okay. If you people want to settle her rent, you can pay. But she must still leave. I don't want troublemaker in my compound." The man finally looked at Mama Amaka directly. His eyes were not angry. They were worse. They were calm. He pointed at the padlock. "Who put that?" Mama Amaka lifted her chin. "I did. I am the landlady." The man nodded slowly. Then he said something that made every single person in the compound freeze. "Madam, do you know whose house this is?" Mama Amaka blinked. "My house, of course." The man's lips pressed into a thin line. He reached into his pocket, brought out a small ID card, and held it up. The neighbors leaned forward. Amara's heart pounded. The man spoke again. "My name is Mr. Chukwudi Enaji. I am from the Lagos State Tenancy Enforcement Unit. And this compound," he paused, then said it clearly, "has been under investigation for illegal evictions and tenant harassment." A sharp murmur rose. "What? Investigation? Tenancy people?" Mama Amaka's face changed. Not fully afraid yet, but something like fear had knocked on her door. She laughed again, but this time it sounded like a lie. "Investigation?" she scoffed. "For what? I'm just collecting my rent." "Is it a crime?" Fru. 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 Mr. Naji didn't argue. He simply turned to Amara. "Madam Amara, did you pay your rent?" Amara nodded quickly and pulled out the receipt with shaking hands. "Yes, sir, I paid. I have evidence." Mr. Naji collected it, glanced at it, then handed it to the woman with the file. Mama Amaka stepped forward. "That receipt is fake." Mr. Naji raised his hand slightly, and Mama Amaka's words died in her mouth. Then Mr. Naji looked around at the tenants. "I need witnesses," he said. Silence. People shifted. Nobody wanted to talk. Mama Amaka's eyes moved slowly from face to face, warning them without speaking. The compound held its breath. Then, from the back, someone spoke. A quiet voice. But it carried. "It's true. Everyone turned. It was the old man at the gate, the recharge card seller. His hands were shaking, but he still spoke. She paid. I saw her give Mama Amaka money last week. Mama Amaka even mocked her that day. The compound erupted into whispers. Mama Amaka spun toward him like a storm. You, old fool, you want to die? The old man flinched, but he did not take his words back. Mr. Naji nodded slowly, like he had been waiting for that crack in the wall. Then he asked, Any other witness? A woman stepped out, trembling. It was the woman with the baby. I heard Mama Amaka tell her friend on the phone that she will remove Amara and bring somebody that can pay double. The woman said quickly, almost crying. I didn't want trouble, but it's true. Amara's eyes filled, not because she was happy, because she could not believe someone had finally spoken. Mama Amaka's face turned red. She opened her mouth to shout, but before she could, another car horn sounded outside. This one was different, sharp and official, and then, in the distance, blue and red lights flashed against the compound wall. A police vehicle was pulling up. The tenants gasped. Mama Amaka staggered back one step. Mr. Naji's voice stayed calm, but his words hit like thunder. Madam Mama Amaka, he said, you will remove this padlock now, or you will explain to the police why you illegally locked a tenant out of her home. Mama Amaka's lips trembled. Her eyes darted from the police lights to the tenants, then to Amara, and then she saw something else. Something she did not expect. Amara was not smiling. Amara was not celebrating. She was simply standing there quiet, tired, but unbroken, like a wall that refused to fall. Mama Amaka whispered, almost to herself, Who are you? Amara's voice was soft, but it landed like a rock. I'm your match, she said. And right then, the police car stopped outside the gate, doors opening, just as Mama Amaka suddenly screamed, No, this is my compound, and grabbed a stone from the ground, raising it like she was about to do something crazy. Stop her! Mr. Naji's shout cut through the night. The stone left Mama Amaka's hand. Time seemed to slow. Somebody screamed. A tenant covered her child's eyes. Amara stood frozen, not because she wanted to be brave, but because her legs refused to move. The stone flew past her face and smashed against the wall behind her door. Crack! Dust fell. Before Mama Amaka could even breathe again, 2 police officers rushed forward and grabbed her arms. Madam, calm down, one officer shouted. Leave me! Mama Amaka screamed, struggling wildly. This girl wants to ruin me. She brought strangers into my house. Madam, you are under control, the second officer said firmly, pulling her hands behind her back. The compound exploded with noise. People talked at once. Did you see that? She wanted to hit her. Ah! Mama Amaka has gone mad. Amara's knees finally gave way. She sat down slowly on the edge of the water drum, shaking from head to toe. The woman with the baby rushed to her side. Are you okay? She whispered. Amara nodded, but tears rolled freely down her cheeks. Not loud tears, quiet ones. Mr. Naji turned to the police. Officer, please note that she attempted assault in front of witnesses. Mama Amaka laughed loudly, a sharp, broken laugh. Assault? On my own property? Are you people joking? One officer looked at her carefully. Madam, whether it is your property or not, assault is assault. Mama Amaka stopped laughing. For the first time that night, fear showed clearly on her face. Not fear of Amara, fear of losing control. She straightened herself, forcing calm into her voice. Officer, please. This is just a misunderstanding. These tenants are lying because they want free house. You know how poor people behave. Amara flinched at the word poor, but before she could speak, Mr. Naji stepped forward. Madam, he said calmly, you will speak at the station if necessary. For now, remove the padlock. Mama Amaka hesitated. The padlock sat there, cold and heavy, like a crown she was being forced to drop. Everyone watched her. Slowly, angrily, she reached into her wrapper and brought out a bunch of keys. Her hand shook as she searched. Clink, clink. She found the key and unlocked the padlock. The metal fell to the ground with a loud clang. Amara's door creaked open. A simple room appeared inside, small bed, plastic chair, 1 pot on a stove, a Bible on the bed. Nothing fancy. Nothing that deserved such cruelty. Amara stood up slowly. Mr. Naji turned to her. You may enter your room. She nodded, wiping her face. As she stepped inside, she felt something strange. Relief and sadness mixed together. She placed her bag on the bed and sat down. Her heart was still racing. Outside, Mama Amaka was arguing loudly. You cannot do this to me. I know people in this area. Mr. Naji replied calmly. Then you will have no problem answering questions. The police officer turned to the tenants. Anyone who has had issues here, illegal eviction, threats, forced rent increase, please stay around. We may need statements. People looked at one another. This was the moment they had feared for years. Speaking meant trouble, but silence had already cost them too much. The recharge card seller stepped forward again. I will talk, he said, voice shaking. I am tired. A young man followed. Me too. Me too. Me too. Me too. Then another woman. Then another. Mama Imaka watched them, her eyes wide. You people, she shouted, after everything I have done for you. For us? A woman cried. You insult us every day. You locked my door when my child was sick. Another shouted. You collected 6 months' rent from me at once. A man added. The noise grew louder. Years of fear spilled out. Amara listened from inside her room, her hands covering her mouth. She never knew her quiet endurance would unlock so many voices. Mama Imaka tried to shout over them, but her voice was drowning. The officer raised his hand. Enough. The compound went quiet again. Mr. Naji spoke. Madam Mama Imaka, you will come with us for questioning. What? She gasped. No, you can't. The officer stepped closer. Madam, please cooperate. Mama Imaka's legs wobbled. She looked around desperately, searching for support. Nobody met her eyes. She had ruled alone. Now she stood alone. As the officers began to lead her toward the gate, Mama Imaka suddenly turned her head and locked eyes with Amara. Her face twisted with anger and something darker. This is not over, she hissed. You think you have won. I will deal with you. Amara felt a chill. Mr. Naji noticed and spoke sharply. Threatening a tenant will only worsen your case, madam. Mama Imaka laughed bitterly. Case. This country has no justice. She was dragged out of the compound, still shouting. The police car door slammed. The flashing lights faded down the road. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then the compound released a long breath. Some people sat down on the ground. Some cried. Some hugged each other. Amara stepped out of her room slowly. Everyone turned to look at her. The woman with the baby came forward first. Thank you, she said softly. Amara shook her head. I didn't plan this. But you endured, the woman replied. That was enough. Mr. Naji approached Amara. You handled yourself well, he said. But I need to ask, why didn't you fight back earlier? Why didn't you report her before now? Amara thought for a moment. Then she answered honestly. Because sometimes when you shout too early, people stop listening. I was waiting for truth to speak louder than me. Mr. Naji studied her face. You are stronger than you look. Amara gave a small smile. I had to learn. That night, the compound felt different. Not peaceful yet, but lighter. Tenants gathered in small groups, talking freely. Children laughed. For the first time, Mama Imaka's room stood quiet. But peace did not last long. Very early the next morning, Amara heard loud knocking. Bang, bang, bang. She jumped from her bed. Who is it? She called. Open this door. A male voice barked. She opened slowly. 2 men stood outside. Big men. Hard faces. One wore dark sunglasses, even though the sun was just rising. The other folded his arms. Are you Amara? The first asked. Yes. He smiled without warmth. Mama Imaka sent us. Amara's heart dropped. She says you are forming important. She says you should pack and leave quietly before things get messy. Amara stepped back slightly. This is harassment, she said, trying to stay calm. The police? The second man laughed. Police? By the time police come, plenty things can happen. Fear crept into Amara's bones. But she remembered something. She looked up and met their eyes. Tell Mama Imaka, she said slowly, that I am not alone. The men paused. She continued. Tell her the law is watching. The community is watching, and if anything happens to me, it will point straight back to her. The first man frowned. You get mouth, he said. Yes, Amara replied, and I'm no longer afraid to use it. They stood there for a moment, measuring her. Then the second man spat on the ground. Let's go, he muttered. This one has trouble written on her. They walked away. Amara closed her door and leaned against it, breathing hard. Her hands shook, but she did not cry. Later that day, news spread fast. Mama Imaka had been released on bail. The compound buzzed with fear again. She is coming back, someone whispered. Amara sat on her bed, staring at the wall. She knew something deep in her chest. This was not finished. Mama Imaka would not accept shame quietly. That evening, as the sun set, Amara's phone rang. An unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. Hello. Mama Imaka's voice came through the line, low and dangerous. You embarrassed me, she said. You made me look small. Amara closed her eyes. Madam, I only asked for my rights. Mama Imaka laughed softly. Rights? This place doesn't run on rights. It runs on power. Then her voice hardened. Enjoy your small victory. Because soon, you will beg. The line went dead. Amara stared at the phone. Her heart pounded. Outside, thunder rumbled in the distance. A storm was coming, not just in the sky. As rain began to fall that night, Amara heard footsteps outside her door again, slow, heavy footsteps, followed by the sound of something metallic being dragged across the compound floor. The metallic sound scraped across the compound floor again. Ivgu. Amara sat up on her bed, her heart pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. The rain had started falling heavier now, drumming on the zinc roofs. Thunder rolled across the sky, shaking the windows. The compound lights flickered once, twice, then stayed on, dim and weak. Krrr. Someone was dragging something. Slowly. On purpose. Amara slipped off the bed and tiptoed to the door. She pressed her ear against it. Voices whispered outside. Low, angry. Her stomach twisted. She reached for her phone and quietly dialed Mr. Naji's number. It rang once, twice. No answer. She tried again. Nothing. Fear crawled up her spine. Then bang! Something heavy hit the door of the next room. A woman screamed. Ah! Amara's door shook as someone ran past. Help! Help us! Another voice cried. The compound exploded into noise. Doors opened. People shouted. Children cried. Amara unlocked her door and stepped outside despite her fear. Rain splashed her face. In the middle of the compound stood Mama Imaka's two men from earlier. Between them was a huge metal drum, the one used for storing water. They had dragged it from the back of the compound and now blocked the walkway. What is going on? Someone shouted. The man with sunglasses sneered. Emergency inspection. Inspection? A woman cried. By who? By the landlady, the other man replied. Anybody that has problem can leave tonight. Lightning flashed, lighting up their hard faces. Amara stepped forward. This is illegal, she said, her voice shaking but loud enough to hear. You cannot threaten people like this. The man in sunglasses laughed. This girl again. He turned to the crowd. Anybody supporting her will suffer with her. The crowd hesitated. Fear returned like a bad smell. People slowly began retreating into their rooms. Amara felt her chest tighten. Then she heard it. A voice from behind her. No. Everyone turned. It was the recharge card seller. Old, thin, wet from rain. No, he repeated, louder. We won't hide again. A woman stepped forward. Then another. Soon, 5 tenants stood beside Amara. Not many, but enough. The man with sunglasses frowned. You people want trouble? We already had trouble, the woman with the baby said, holding her child tight. Every day. Thunder crashed loudly overhead. Amara felt something change. Fear was still there, but it was no longer alone. She took a deep breath. Leave, she said to the men. Before this becomes a bigger case. The men exchanged looks. Then the second man reached into his pocket. Amara's heart skipped. But instead of a weapon, he pulled out a phone. He answered it quickly. Yes, madam. They listened. Their faces changed slightly. Okay, he said, we're coming. He hung up and looked at Amara. This is not finished, he warned. Then they grabbed the drum and dragged it away, disappearing into the rain. The compound stood silent. Rain kept falling. People breathed again. Amara's knees felt weak. She leaned against the wall. The old man touched her arm. "You were brave." Amara shook her head. "I was scared." He smiled sadly. Brave people are always scared. That night, nobody slept well. Every sound felt like danger. Every shadow looked like trouble. Morning finally came, but peace did not come with it. By noon, a rumor spread like fire. Mama Amara had returned, not to the compound, but to the streets. She was telling her own story. She is a witch, Mama Amara told anyone who would listen. She charms people. That's how she turned my tenants against me. Some people believed her. Others did not. But gossip has sharp teeth. By evening, two strangers stood near the compound gate, whispering and pointing at Amara's room. A woman selling vegetables outside shook her head. "Trouble is growing," she muttered. Amara felt it too. That evening, Mr. Naji finally came. He stood in the compound with a serious face, holding a file. "The situation has changed," he said. "How?" Amara asked. "Mama Amara has filed a complaint," he replied. "She claims you are inciting tenants and damaging her business." Amara's mouth fell open. "That's a lie." "I know," he said calmly. "But lies can still cause damage if not handled carefully." Fear returned stronger. "What happens now?" Amara whispered. Mr. Naji looked at her closely. "There will be a mediation meeting," he said. "Community leaders, legal observers, police." "When?" "Tomorrow morning." Amara's heart sank. Mama Amara wanted a public fight, a place where she could twist words, where power mattered again. That night, Amara sat alone in her room, staring at the wall. She remembered her past, the job she lost unfairly, the room she was chased from before, the lesson she learned too late. Silence protects the bully. Her phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. "You should withdraw before you regret it." Her hands trembled. Another message followed. "People like you don't win against people like her." Amara closed her eyes. Then she typed back, "Truth always wins, even if it walks slowly." She placed the phone down. Outside, the compound was quiet. Too quiet. Suddenly, glass shattered. Crash! Amara jumped up. Her window was broken. Rain and wind rushed in. On the floor lay a stone, wrapped in paper. Her heart raced as she unfolded it. 4 words were written in red ink. "Leave. Or else." Amara stared at the note. Her breath came fast, but her eyes hardened. She folded the paper carefully, placed it on the table, and whispered to herself, "I will not run." Outside, footsteps moved away into the dark, and somewhere in the night, Mama Amara smiled, sure that fear had finally done its job. She was wrong. The knock came again. Soft, slow, tap, tap. Amara froze. Her room was dark. The power outage had swallowed everything: light, fan, even the small noise that made the night feel normal. Rainwater dripped through the broken window, splashing on the floor. Tap, tap. Her heart pounded so loudly she feared whoever was outside could hear it. "Who is it?" she whispered. No answer. The knock came again, closer this time. Tap, tap. Amara grabbed her phone. No network bars. Her breath shook. She reached slowly for the torchlight she kept under her bed and switched it on. A thin beam of light cut through the darkness. She walked toward the window, every step careful. "Who is there?" she asked again, louder. A familiar voice replied, low and urgent. "Amara, it's me." She leaned closer. It was the woman with the baby. "Please open," the woman whispered. "They are coming." Amara's stomach dropped. She pulled the window wider and helped the woman inside. "What's happening?" Amara asked. "They went to the chairman's house," the woman said, breathing fast. "Mama Amara is there. She brought elders. She's saying you are disturbing peace." Amara closed her eyes for a moment. So that was the plan. Public shame. Power meeting power. The woman continued. "Mr. Naji called. He said the mediation has been moved to tonight. Right now." Amara looked at her phone again. Still no network. "The power outage?" Amara asked. The woman nodded. Only this side of the street. It's not a coincidence. Fear tried to rise again. Amara pushed it down. Thank you, she said softly. Please go back inside. Lock your door. The woman hesitated. What about you? Amara straightened her back. I'm going, she said. The woman's eyes widened. Now? In this rain? Yes. Within minutes, Amara tied her scarf tightly around her head, slipped on her sandals, and stepped into the rain. The compound watched her go. Some people wanted to stop her. Some whispered prayers. Nobody laughed. Outside, a small crowd had gathered near the chairman's house. Lanterns glowed. Cars lined the street. Men in traditional caps stood in groups, talking in low voices. Mama Amaka stood in front, dry, confident, wrapped in her best cloth. She saw Amara approach and smiled. That smile said everything. Amara took her place quietly. The chairman cleared his throat. We are here to restore peace, he said. Mama Amaka says her tenant is causing unrest. Mama Amaka stepped forward dramatically. This girl, she said, pointing at Amara, has turned my compound upside down. She is rude. She brings outsiders. She disrespects elders. Murmurs followed. Mama Amaka raised her voice. Since she came, nothing has been the same. The chairman nodded slowly, then turned to Amara. Speak. Amara stepped forward. Her clothes were wet. Her hands shook, but her voice was clear. I only asked for my right to live peacefully, she said. I paid my rent. I was locked out. I was threatened. Stones were thrown into my room. Mama Amaka scoffed loudly. Lies. Mr. Nudgy stepped out of the crowd. I have records, he said. Police statements. Witness reports. The chairman raised his brows. Witnesses? One by one, tenants stepped forward. The recharge card seller. The woman with the baby. The young man who paid 6 months' rent. Each voice added weight. Each truth cracked Mama Amaka's mask. Her smile faded. Still, she tried to laugh. You see, she said, they are all under her spell. The chairman turned sharply. Enough. Silence fell. Mama Amaka, he said, you were warned before. 2 complaints last year. 1 settlement. 1 warning. Mama Amaka stiffened. The chairman continued. This is no longer small. Mama Amaka's voice dropped. Chairman, you know me. I built that compound. I worked hard. Amara finally spoke again. So did we, she said softly. The words landed. The chairman sighed deeply. This matter will go to court, he said. Until then, there will be no eviction, no threats, no rent increase. Mama Amaka's eyes widened. No eviction? She shouted. You want to destroy me? No, the chairman replied. Your actions did. Rain slowed. Thunder faded. Mama Amaka turned slowly to Amara. Her face was twisted with hate. You think this is victory? She hissed. I will still. Mr. Naji interrupted. Any further threat will add criminal charges. Mama Amaka fell silent. For the first time, she looked small, not powerless, but exposed. The crowd began to disperse. Some people nodded at Amara. Some smiled. Some simply looked relieved. As Amara turned to leave, the chairman called her name. You stood well, he said, but this fight is not over. Amara nodded. I know. She walked back toward the compound. The rain had stopped. The streetlights flickered back on. Power returned. Behind her, Mama Amaka stood alone, watching, her pride wounded but not dead. And, as Amara entered the compound, she saw something that made her pause. Mama Amaka's room door was wide open. Men were inside, counting, recording, removing documents. Amara's heart raced. This was bigger than she thought. And then Mr. Naji leaned close to her and whispered, There is something you don't know yet about Mama Amaka, and when it comes out, everything will change. As Amara turned to ask what he meant, a woman rushed into the compound, shouting, They've arrested Mama Amaka's brother. The shout cut through the compound like lightning. People froze. Amara turned slowly, her heart pounding. Arrested? For what? The woman who brought the news was breathing hard. Land fraud, threats, illegal evictions. They said his name kept coming up during investigations. He's the one backing Mama Amaka. A low murmur spread. Everything suddenly made sense. The confidence, the threats, the belief that she was untouchable. Mama Amara had never been standing alone. Sirens wailed faintly in the distance. Mr. Naji looked at Amara, his face serious but calm. "That's the missing piece," he said. "Her brother has been using intimidation to protect illegal practices. Once he fell, the shield broke." Amara swallowed. "So, what happens now?" "Now," he replied, "the truth finishes what courage started." By morning, the compound was full, not with fear, but with people. Journalists stood near the gate. Community leaders arrived. Police officers moved in and out, carrying files. The once quiet compound had become the center of attention. Mama Amara arrived late. No loud entrance. No insults. No shouting. She stepped in wearing a plain wrapper, her head uncovered. Her eyes darted around as if the walls she once ruled were now watching her. Tenants whispered, "That's her? She looks different. Where is her mouth today?" Mama Amara avoided their eyes. The chairman arrived and cleared his throat. "This meeting is to address serious findings," he said. "There are records of illegal rent increases, forced evictions, threats, and harassment." Mama Amara opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. Mr. Naji stood and read from the file. "We have witness statements, audio recordings, police reports, bank records." The words fell like stones. Mama Amara's knees shook. Her brother was brought in under police watch. For the first time, Mama Amara looked truly afraid. "Amara," her brother said quietly, "it's over." She stared at him. "You said nothing could touch us." He looked away. The silence screamed. One by one, tenants were asked to speak. Not to fight. Not to shout. Just to tell the truth. A woman spoke of being locked out with her sick child. A man told how his rent doubled overnight. Another shared how threats forced him to leave without his belongings. Each story peeled away Mama Amara's image. Amara listened quietly. When her turn came, she stepped forward. "I did not come here to destroy anyone," she said gently. "I only wanted a safe place to live." She paused, then added, "Power without kindness becomes cruelty." Mama Amara's eyes filled. Not with anger this time, with something close to regret. The chairman stood. "Mama Amara, your compound will be placed under temporary management pending court judgment." Gasps filled the air. "You will no longer control rent or evictions." Mama Amara's shoulders slumped. "Your brother will face charges." Her lips trembled. "And tenants who were wronged will receive protection." Amara felt tears sting her eyes. Mama Amara finally looked at her. Not with hate, with tired eyes. "I thought fear made me strong," Mama Amara said softly. "I was wrong." No one clapped. No one mocked. The crown had fallen quietly. Weeks passed. The compound changed. Doors stayed open. Children played freely. Rent notices were fair. Tenants greeted one another with smiles instead of whispers. Amara was offered help. A better room. A job referral. Even praise. But she remained simple. One evening, she sat on the steps, watching the sunset. The recharge card seller joined her. "You changed this place." Amara shook her head. "We changed it." He smiled. "Still, you were the spark." Mama Amara returned one final time to collect her things. No crowd gathered. Only Amara stood nearby. Mama Amara hesitated, then spoke. "I thought being feared meant being respected." Amara replied gently, "Respect grows from fairness." Mama Amara nodded slowly. "I lost my way." Amara said nothing. Sometimes silence teaches better. Mama Amara left without drama, without insults, without power. That night, Amara lay on her bed, peaceful for the first time in months. She thought of everything that had happened. Fear, courage, truth. She smiled softly, because she had learned something important. Strength does not shout. It stands. And in standing firm, Amara had met power face to face and won without breaking herself. If you like this story, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories.